Welcome to tonight's forum. I am Samira Torshizi, Chair of the Residential Subsection for the Los Angeles County Bar Association. And tonight, we have with us Bryant Acosta, Founder and Chief Creative Officer of the Nightbreed. He has spent the last 20 years as a creative executive, managing large organizations, multi-million-dollar budgets, and built systems using advanced tech. Asaad Alnajjar, a civil structural engineer who has worked for the city of LA for over 37 years. He currently serves as the city's senior engineering manager. He is an active member of the LA 28 Olympic team and the chair of the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council Safety and Transit Committee. We have Nelson Cheng, current graduate student pursuing a Master of Public Administration at CSULA. He's a Roblox YouTuber known as Evil Heartful E with over 45,000 subscribers. He focuses on user privacy and works as a behavioral interventionist for children with special needs. He may be leaving us early for another event tonight, so if he goes MIA, that is why. Tish Hyman, a business owner and Grammy-nominated songwriter with over a decade of experience in the music industry. She has also ran multiple businesses, including a 30-unit short-term rental and a studio. John Logsdon, a director, a producer, a business owner, a first responder, and has been on the board of the Neighborhood Council for Westchester Playa Vista for 7 years, chairing the Public Safety Committee for the past 6. And Andrej Selivra, a second-generation Ukrainian-American and political science graduate from UCLA, a top systems engineer helping large organizations improve their finance, systems, and operational processes. Unfortunately, Ms. Wong canceled last minute due to a scheduling conflict and won't be joining us. We will be asking questions submitted from the public and county bar members. The rules tonight: each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer questions. We're expecting a dignified debate. We are interested in giving the people of LA some specificity as to how you will handle some of the problems affecting the residents of LA. And your first topic tonight, homelessness. 4 years ago, homelessness was the #1 topic. Today remains the #1 topic in these debates. Residents feel unsafe. They feel the homeless encampments are everywhere and the numbers are increasing. Asaad, you proposed a 90-day audit for homeless spending. What changes do you expect that audit to produce?
Basically, it will allocate exactly where our funding is being wasted. I work very close with the budget, so I know there is a lot of waste going on in it. Plus, the count is not reliable. The count is at least 300% wrong because of the fact I work very close with the homeless for 2 decades. Some tents are occupied by AM users, some tents by PM users. And then some tents, they have double occupancy, triple occupancy. So we are off from engineering perspective, we're off by 300%. The other aspect is the programs, they are mimicking and going all in different paths to do the same thing. We need a unified goal, unified task, similar to the plan that we signed back in November 2015, which I implement immediately. It's 277 pages, got adopted by Lindsay Horvath in the county, and I will continue to do what I was supposed to do, but the current mayor doesn't let me do.
Thank you. John, what specific homeless policies would you implement within your first 100 days?
Hello. First off, I just want to say thanks, Samira, for having us tonight and the LA County Bar Association. It's a pleasure to be here. First 100 days, I think we need to advocate right away to get 4118 implemented across the city so there's no homeless encampments next to any schools. That's just like the #1 thing that needs to happen. It's pretty easy there. It's also, we need to work on advocating with Sacramento to get the people that are actually mentally unsound and addiction into centers, and so that we can move people off the streets as fast as possible and into particular housing that deals with that. We also need to make sure that we have wraparound services so that we actually have places for everybody to go, so that there's families, vets, also anybody that's just a single mother, so we go places that they are ready and able to take them. So that's what I think we should do in the first 100 days. Go right at it.
Thank you. And Andre, same question to you. What specific homeless policies would you implement your first 100 days?
So honestly, I think I'm the only candidate who's giving like a real plan on how we're going to address homelessness. I'm also probably the only candidate that's actually experienced homelessness themselves. I was homeless here as a teenager at 19, sleeping out of my car. I know what it's like. So my plan is to copy what other countries have done successfully. That's building a public dormitory style model. These are single and multi-room occupancy models. I want the city to first, in the first 100 days, we're going to identify commercial office and underused industrial spaces throughout the city. I'd like to do 50 of them that we can retrofit for adaptive reuse, making the ground floor public services available to everybody. That's mental health treatment, addiction counseling and wellness, jobs training and placement, medical, meal services. And then the upper floors would all be dormitory rooms. Some of them would be multi-occupancy. Some of them would be single or double, triple occupancy. We have, medical hospitals for when you break your leg. We need social hospitals for when your heart and your life is broken. And that's what I intend to do.
And thank you. Nelson, to you.
Oh, in question? Okay. So for my first 100 days as LA mayor, I'll be able to use abandoned warehouse and facilities and convert them into renovate a homeless shelter. That way we could be able to save some amount of taxpayers' money instead of building new homeless shelters. Because if you build new housing, no matter what, it's going to cost more than just billions of taxpayers' dollars. And a lot of people will be frustrated because, like, ever since Karen Bass took office, she said she promised to build new houses and all this stuff. But wait, because there have been some NIMBYs over there who don't want, some dense housing near transit. So that's the reason why Karen Bass opposed SB 79, which is why a lot of people were frustrated. But totally understand. But I just feel like, due to like lack of affordable housing, I feel like housing would be impossible no matter what, and that we would never be able to eliminate homelessness. It has been around like this for decades. I gotta tell you. So that's why, as mayor, I will be able to use abandoned warehouse and facilities, like I said earlier, to be able to renovate them to homeless shelter. That way, it won't be that expensive as establishing new homeless shelters. So that's what I'm planning to do as the next LA mayor. Thank you.
And Brian, you have stated you would launch the LA Now app. How would that address homelessness issues, or would it?
Well, with that app, we'd be able to have, right now, there's a bunch of different dashboards and different websites. And so with the LA Now app, it's condensing all of that. So being able to track spending, like Asaad was saying, it's really important to be able to get to the root issue. And that's going to be one of them because we don't know how much money we're actually, being able to spend on these policies and what has been spent, because if we don't have a proper accounting for these things, we don't know how much we're going to be able to spend and also be able to go after the people that have abused the system. That is going to be key at least in my first 100 days, is having a reconcile of where those budgets have gone. Because as far as I've seen, City Hall right now has just been blocking a lot of those visibility into those line items and contracts. And so LA Now would remove that and then work with an independent auditor like the controller's office to be able to really show this is how much money we have, this is where every contract's being allocated, every penny, every dollar spent, to be able to execute on a lot of the ideas that we want to push forward.
Tish, what is your homeless accountability and transition program that you propose to initiate within your first 100 days?
So in my first 100 days, I would audit every homelessness program, track where the money is going, create a real-time dashboard showing who's being helped, who is staying housed, and who's returning to the streets, and which providers are actually producing results. I give Mayor Bass credit for making homelessness urgent and moving people indoors, but moving someone indoors is the beginning, not the finish line. Success means people are stabilized and treated when necessary, housed long-term, and neighborhoods are safer, cleaner, and more policy. It's a cycle. So we need to enforce our vagrancy laws with compassion. There's no one-size-fits-all option, so we must do a triage, and drug users that need rehabilitation, drug dealers go to jail, and so forth and so on. Housing first doesn't work. I'm seeking guidance right now from experts at the Cicero Institute. A mayor's job isn't necessarily to have all of the answers, but to surround yourself with people who have the best advice to give, and also who I control the budget and I oversee fraud and waste. and abuse and coordination with the city controller. So I would work hand in hand with them.
You can use my app.
I like that. It's a great app.
One of Mayor Bass's first act as mayor was the Inside Safe initiative. The numbers show the program has made some progress, with there being a 17% drop in homelessness and some stats showing an 80% retention rate. Brian, you have been vocal about the city's leadership culture being disconnected from residents. Can you explain that, and what specifically would you do differently from the Inside Safe initiative?
Well, I think with the Inside Safe, what I've seen is it's more of a one-size-fits-all solution. And what I've experienced with one of my best friends who has bipolar and schizophrenia is that there is no through line. So once people try to get help for these things, through the city and state, there's too many layers to it. So even to see, for example, when somebody is going through psychosis, you will have moments where they're able to actually try to get help. But if they have to make an appointment to see a nurse, to make an appointment to see a doctor, to make an appointment to get medication, that's where it falls through. And then there's no outpatient care set up so that people, because when you have these kinds of things happening in your life, sometimes medications take months and even a year to really see the benefits of it. And so right now, because there's no, it's a one-size-fits-all, there's no way to actually be able to track the progress of this. So one of the things that I want to do is break it down into buckets. So we have people with mental health care, people with with substance abuse issues, people that don't want help, people that are the working poor, and people that are getting shipped here from other municipalities and states. And so if we attack the root issues, we'll be able to better understand and see like what is working, what's not, and be able to put people on a path for rehabilitation into our society.
Asaad, you support a housing first model combined with mental health and addiction services. How would your version differ from the city's current approach?
So my version is based on realistic goals, realistic timelines in the plan that I mentioned, the 277-page plan that we signed back in November 2015. It is successfully implemented in Beverly Hills by Mayor Nazarian, in Irvine by Mayor Agaran, and there is no reason for it not to work in the city of LA. However, Mayor Bass, what she did is she hyped up the whole program, and there is no deliverables, there is no timeline, there is no budget. We have multiple committees just pretending to be doing the job, but doesn't deliver anything at all. Our program worked successfully for all these other sister cities, and we should be able to implement it. I volunteered to be in charge of the homelessness program, and I got rejected for it because they knew there will be results and they didn't want results. Right now, it's musical chairs with wasted money. The 277-page plan does address 4 areas: families before they go homeless, the alcoholic, the mentally ill, and it should work under my leadership. Thank you.
Tish, you have stated some organizations benefit from people remaining on the streets. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, there are a lot of NGOs receiving money right now to fix our homeless problem, but nothing's happening, or it's not moving at the pace that it should be for the price tag that's attached to it. So you have people giving out needles on the streets. I mean, what purpose does that serve other than to perpetuate the same situation? I mean, anybody who's lived with a drug-addicted family member or has dealt with a mentally ill person or a person struggling with addiction knows that you can't feed the addiction. So, this is just like, it seems to be a perpetuated system. They just keep giving more money to the NGOs, and the NGOs are not doing their job because it's easier to supply, 60, 70,000 jobs to take care of 10, 20,000 people than it is to cure 20,000 people. So it seems. in my opinion, the work never stops. So if people truly cared about getting the situation handled and getting the problem solved, they would know that the work is longer than just housing. It's just continual, it's wraparound, and it's long term. So I think that they are benefiting because they're keeping it going and they're keeping their jobs going and they're keeping those checks coming in.
John, turning to you, do you support the Inside Safe initiative, and what would you do differently?
Well, I'm glad that Karen Bass actually she made that her priority on day one. But 4 years later, here we are. It's still the number one issue, and so it's kind of like I think Brian said it's not a one size fits all model. It's like kind of there's so many different issues that are happening there. Like if they're just trying to get people off the streets into housing, but they're like on drugs, then all you're going to do is take that person that's like out on the streets and put them into it by themselves in a room. That's no way we should be doing that. So we need to be able to right now there's plenty of housing to go around right now for people that actually want it. That's it's not at capacity. So we should be able to take the people that need housing and want housing off the streets and right into housing right now. Then there's the other side, other subsects, which are like folks that are on drugs or mentally ill. We need to actually start enforcing some laws, like as far as actually, if you're inebriated and you don't know who you are, you need to probably spend 24 hours in detox and then maybe get some kind of a misdemeanor on that. Hopefully nothing that can show up on your actual permanent work record. But then if if it continues, if you keep falling back in, then it needs to be longer with actually mental health issues or treatments. So I think it's a four-pronged approach on all of it. It's a lot. Sorry, wish we had more time.
Andrej, turning the same question to you.
Yeah, look, anybody who's looked at the numbers for Inside Safe will know that it's been an absolute failure. Truly, it's a failure of a program. It demonstrates negligence and maybe even just wanton disregard for taxpayer money. Truly, just to give you an example, Inside Safe was spending upwards of $200 a night to put people in hotel rooms. We're talking $7,000 a month, $80,000 per year to house one person, and we put them in a box somewhere and we expect them to get better by themselves. Some of these other candidates have identified, it's true. You can't just treat people with concrete and money. You can't just put them in a box and expect they're going to get better. I've been talking with Dennis Oliski. He's the CEO at the LA Mission, one of the most successful homeless shelters anywhere in America. They can't take public funding because they're a Christian organization, but they've been wildly successful at treating the homeless, and they do it by focusing on people. Wraparound services. They have a dormitory style model. They spend $15,000 to $25,000 per bed for construction, and then only $7,000 a year for maintenance. We're talking $500 a month per person. And then they spend the rest of that money, all the savings, on wraparound services. That's what heals people, right? You can't just put them in a box. You got to treat them with people. So this is why I'm proposing a dormitory style model. We need to treat people with people. That's more important than just giving some private developers, whoever, hundreds of millions, $300, $400 million spent on Inside Safe. 75% of those people didn't make it into permanent housing. It's a failure. Dormitories work. That's what I'll implement.
And Nelson, same question to you.
Oh, yeah. So I oppose Karen Bass's Inside Safe initiative because right now it is a stall exit strategy where nearly $300 million are literally wasted just to tie up keeping individuals in expensive motels. And not just that, because it has lack of permanent housing, strict behavioral rules, and inadequate supportive services, which I totally understand though. But for some reason, most of the homeless individuals, they return to the streets afterward because the Inside Safe initiative doesn't work out efficiently because there has been a shortage of affordable housing and permanent vouchers that force the city of LA to keep participants in temporary motels for months or even over a year. So about at least 40% of them ultimately dropped out. They returned back on the streets. So that's why homelessness has gone worse by 30%, which is terrible. And right now, those homeless individuals in temporary motel housing, well, they have to face strict regulations, of course. Unfortunately, there has been a lot of people who don't follow the rules, such as, there has been strict rules, like bans for overnight guests, where they're not allowed to bring other people overnight, mandatory indoor inspection, prohibition on outside food, etc. All these rules for consecutive days, but most of the homeless individuals, especially the mentally ill, they don't follow the rules. They don't even care. And many inside safe homeless individuals have been placed in motels, but they, report issues such as, mold, roach infestations, faulty plumbing, and lack of access to regular nutritious food. So it has been a lot of cons due to that. There has been inadequate wraparound services.
Thank you, yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry, so yeah.
Appreciate your answer. 2 yes and no questions for each of you. It's just a simple yes or no. Right now, getting off the streets is voluntary. Would you support a mandatory shelter placement if beds are available? I'll start with you, John.
Yes.
Andrej.
Yes.
Asaad.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Tish.
Absolutely, yes.
And Nelson.
Definitely C. Yes.
So I have a unanimous yes on mandatory shelter placement. Second yes and no question. Do you support Ordinance 1418 that restricts encampments within 500 feet of schools and daycares? Start with you again, John.
Yes, absolutely.
Asaad.
Yes, I started it.
Andrej.
Yeah, 100%.
Brian.
This is a no-brainer, yes.
Tish.
Absolutely, yes.
And Nelson.
Unlike Nitya ramen noodle, definitely yes.
And your final homelessness question. A lot of money has been spent on homelessness. How would you change how the money is spent? And where would the money come from? I will start with you, John.
Okay. So obviously it's not working right now as it is. We've spent so much money. So accountability needs to happen right away. Like that we need to dig right in and see where all the money is being spent. It's just we are not seeing the transparency. So I've been talking to people at the Dream Center, which is kind of like the mission, and they actually have full wraparound services. We need to implement something like that for the city. I mean, I know it's going to be a trajectory and take some time, but it needs to happen. You can save so much money in the long run and take a holistic approach by actually getting people off the streets and being on a path to recovery. And a service like that, what the Dream Center has, they take in families, they take in people that are mentally ill, they take in people with addiction issues. If we can do that to our city, then to what we can provide as a city, I think that would be a huge help to what's going to happen to our home, what needs to happen to the homeless in LA. Thank you.
And Asaad, I turn the same question over to you.
Yes. So the budget allows for a lot of work to do. Unfortunately, like for me, the past 37 years, the past 3, I haven't seen so many incompetent managers and directors being hired by Karen Bast for this program. The first thing is to eliminate all those staff that she brought in that has no knowledge. In line with what John said, there is a lot of successful organizations that are doing a lot of work, and there is no reason for not having the triple P, public-private partnership with them. I did something similar with the sanitation program, and it saves a lot of billions of dollars for the city. We can do the same thing for the homeless. Utilize the expert working groups. This way, we get more results out of our money. We have a lot of money in there. I mean, the way I can run the budget, I will use only 80% and I will save 20% of the budget for something else, for unseen for condition, or for the next mayor when my term ends. But definitely, I would start hiring all the top level groups that should have been positioned in there by Karen Bass and not whoever she brought off from her last campaign trail. Thank you.
Andrej, I turn the question over to you.
Yeah, look, it's not a budgetary problem that we have here in terms of how much money. Like the city of LA had a $1.3 billion budget to handle homelessness when Karen Bass came into office, right? This is a ton of money. She handed that entire budget off to LACBA, LAHSA, which was run by her friend, right? Just a third-party organization with no oversight, no accountability, right? They don't have to produce the same kind of public records, and they didn't. And it was so bad that we had to bring in a federal judge, a district court judge, to require an audit. And they found that like $300 million plus went missing, right? So it's not an issue of us, having the money or raising it, it's how we're spending it. Right. And this is the problem. We got to be doing stuff in house. I'm a systems engineer. When we have a critical systems failure, We don't outsource that to somebody. We build it in-house, right? Because we need control over that system. We need to know how we're managing it, and here's the thing, when we start doing that, the costs come down, right? Because we're doing it internally. We're employing people directly in the city. And this is the real benefit, right? Is with all of that money, all that savings, we can, instead of spending money on the bricks and the buildings and all the, that's going to private developers, we can spend it on humans, right? This is social help, social workers and medical staff and people who are going to help people. This creates local jobs, takes that money and puts it into the economy of the pockets of the people who need it, the working class people of Los Angeles. So again, it's not a budgetary we're going to fight, it's how we're spending the money. And that's what I intend to fix.
Tish, I turned it over to you. How would you change how the money's being spent and where would the money come from?
So for me, I would change homelessness spending by making it performance-based and tying every dollar to results. Los Angeles has been spending, allocating over $1 billion towards homelessness, but the public still cannot clearly see what every dollar is producing. In the fiscal year 2025, reports show that the city had roughly $473 million in homeless funds unspent. Inside Safe cost more than $300 million and moved thousands of people indoors, but reports also show that 40% return to the streets. So the problem is not just money, the problem is execution. So I would restructure the first 100 million, 40 million for mental health and addiction treatment beds, 25 million for permanent housing navigation, 15 million for like outreach and triage teams, 10 million for sanitation and encampment cleanup, 10 million for audits, data tracking, and provider accountability. And I would also, because I'm a businesswoman, I would bring in new revenue. So I would extend nightclub hours in controlled entertainment zones that permit fees, vendor fees, security fees, sanitation fees, parking revenue, and tourism revenue directed back into city services. And I've also created a broader business structure designed to bring $1 billion a year back to Los Angeles through culture, entertainment, tourism, and public-private partnerships. My goal is simple: stop spending blindly, track every dollar, and fund what actually gets people housed and stable.
Bryant, same question to you.
So I'm actually with Andrej on this. I would have an in-house team that would oversee a microcity. So imagine taking 3,000 to 4,000 people off the street overnight. So the idea would be build a microcity where we could actually process people. And instead of being like, oh, we have people on this corner, we're all in one area. We're able to get them the services that they need. At the same time, work on building wellness centers that, similar to Andrej's idea, would have a stabilization and dorm room style settings to be able to get people to be able to reintegrate it back into the public sphere. But it would be great if we were able to take 3,000 to 4,000 people overnight. We then could go into the different, what I'm calling out phase out encampments, and then just phase out encampments throughout the city. So we're able to clean the city, get people the resources they need, and get people on the track back into being productive members of society. I would also create mobile parks so that we could get some of these mobile homes out of neighborhoods and have like places they can go to the bathroom and activities while they're waiting to be processed into permanent affordable housing. I would also work with private-public partnerships to be able to generate new revenue streams and be able to get this. But I think we have enough money. I just don't think it's being allocated properly.
And Nelson, same question to you.
Well, for that, we need real transparency and accountability. Just like the LAC controller, Kenneth Mejia, who's actually improved the real transparency and accountability in order to be able to review the LA City budget. So right now, we just need to change the homeless budget by engaging with the annual LA City and County budget cycles. We got to advocate for specific tax initiatives or petitioning elected officials to reallocate the funding, So we got to balance the budget, So like for each department, such as the police, the firefighters, street cleaning, the street lighting, public works, etc., they should all be balanced, Unlike Karen Bass, who literally cut like entire funding for the street cleaning and the lights and public work is not good. We gotta balance the budget no matter what. Even if she says she promised to reduce the crime, still we have to balance the budget. You gotta balance, So right now, I know that the LA County Board of Supervisors, they control the bulk of regional homelessness funding, including the revenues generated by Measure A, of course. And we gotta be able to adjust the tax rate for housing construction, rental assistance, and outreach. We gotta be able to reach out to local neighborhood council, let's just say like John, for example. We gotta be able to try to work together. We gotta impact these allocations together no matter what. So yeah, thank you.
Switching topics to affordable housing. LA remains one of the least affordable regions in the county. What is one policy you would change immediately upon getting elected? Andrej, let's start with you.
The first thing that I would do is that, you know, I'm a believer in SB 79 in terms of upzoning, especially along public streets that are like transit corridors, right? Wilshire, La Cienega, Hollywood Boulevard, Melrose, all these places. I want them to be upzoned. I don't want us to be able to start building to the sky. But here's the thing: I want to remove parking requirements. No more parking requirements. You don't need it. We need to move towards a public transit friendly city. We can't just be like encouraging people to have more cars here. And so I'm actually proposing, I'm one of the few candidates proposing a public transit overhaul for Los Angeles in the terms of a dedicated network of shuttle buses throughout the cities that supplements the city bus system, right? It runs on the bus routes. It's an 8 to 10 seat passenger van. Instead of driving for Uber or Lyft, you can drive a shuttle bus for the city. We're calling this Metro X. It gets you all the way across town, even in rush hour, 25, 35 minutes. And if we do that, and we have that along our transit corridors, Wilshire, La Cienega, Hollywood Boulevard, Fairfax, our biggest transit corridors, we can build up. We can build 20, 40, 50 stories and remove the parking requirement, because these shuttle buses will be coming right in front of people's apartments all day, every day. So you won't need to have a car. You can live in one of these places. That will reduce the building costs, reduce the rent, making sure that people have more places. Additionally, we need to be building the right type of housing. We're only building studios and 1 bedrooms for rent. We need to be building more family-oriented housing, 3 and 4 bedroom apartments as well. I want to make that a requirement as well, because young people like myself can't afford a place where they can have a family here. And we need to make sure that we're building 3 and 4 bedroom units that are available at affordable rates. They don't need parking. That's what I intend to do, and that's how we're going to solve it.
Tish, I turn the question over to you.
So I think Los Angeles became unaffordable because the city stopped building enough houses, while costs, bureaucracy, and delays kept driving the prices higher and higher. Too many hardworking Angelinos are spending more on rent than they can realistically afford because government systems stop keeping pace with reality. The solution is we need to build more housing faster, cut through unnecessary red tape, protect vulnerable residents, and make City Hall work with urgency and accountability again. The goal should be simple. Teachers, nurses, first responders, artists, and working families should be able to afford to live in the city that they helped build. One affordable housing for the city I would change immediately is the way that Los Angeles handles permitting and approvals. Did I go over? Right now,
you still have 30 seconds.
Oh, I thought you said something. Right now, the city says it wants affordable housing, but it forces projects through a slow and expensive, confusing process that could take months or even years. So that delay is raising costs and it's scaring off the builders and keeps units from getting built. So upon taking office, I would create an 90-day affordable housing fast track rule. If a project meets affordability, safety, zoning, and environmental requirements, the city must move through it approvals within a 90-day timeline.
Brian, I turn the question over to you.
So I would actually lean into cooperative housing, building large crop communities using prefab homes. It would cut time and costs in half. It would also allow these homes to remain non-speculative and would be able to price them at a much cheaper range. And the beauty of it is that people, instead of renting an apartment, you'd be able to actually build equity. So imagine studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And in my head, I see them as 200, 400, and 600,000. But being able to give people like in my generation an opportunity to become homeowners and be the masters of their own destiny. The other things I would do immediately is institute a vacancy tax that would be able to start allowing more units to be on the market, and then a rental Rental Fairness Act, where people struggle to move in, and so instead of having excess fees or rigid 3-time income rules, there'd be a 3-tiered system that would reward reliable tenants. But those are all 3 things that I would do to be able to help people get into permanent affordable housing.
And John, I turn the question over to you.
Good. Okay. So, okay. Well, I have a problem with SB 79. I feel like the problem with it is that it was kind of like thrown down to us, the city that way from Sacramento as like a punishment for not building more. So we need to strip away all the red tape that we have. So LA does build more, and we do need to build more on the major corridors. I am against building in in neighborhoods. I feel like LA is a very cultural rich area, and a lot of that has to do with the neighborhoods that are spread all around the area. As far as building, I think we need to, like I said, along the corridors and in major transit centers. Like for example, right at the corner of Jefferson and La Cienega, there's a metro rail that goes right through there. There's a bus hub, and so all of a sudden you just start building in that area. You make it walkable so that there is, like right now on the ground floor of a lot of those places that are going in, and they're thinking it through. There is like a Whole Foods. There's like restaurants. There's places to go. That makes total sense. And I know that like along Ventura Boulevard, they're like, I just did a thing with the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association last week, and they are for actually doing it along Ventura Boulevard, but not into the neighborhoods there. So another thing we need to do is when we just need to start building, because when we build more, there'll actually be like a big housing stock, which will then drive the prices down, because there will be vacancies at other places, maybe older units and stuff, which will then create competition, which will drive the cost down.
And Asaad.
Okay, so I'm going to try to answer a 1-hour question in 1 minute something. We have a lot of planning going on the past, for me, the past 37 years. I worked on the 2020, the 2030, 2050, even the 2060. And we plan the way the city goes, because you cannot just build a building without addressing where you're going to get the water from, where is going to get the sanitation processed, and where you're going to get your electricity from. The problem is we have politicians in Sacramento throw things at us without jurisdiction to the local government, to the local mayor, the council, the neighborhood council, or the people. We got lucky when we got SB4 because we got the churches and the temples to build housing close to the church on property in a very expedited permitting. SB 79 is supposed to work with the transit. I designed the transit system the past 26 years. It's not the chicken or the egg question. This is something you have to plan ahead. Like right now, we have SB 79. So when I'm designing the East San Fernando Valley train system on Van Nuys, we're addressing the sanitation, we're addressing the power, so that this way Van Nuys would be ready for these housing. And I wish I had more time. Thank you.
Since most of us have touched on SB 79, Senate Bill 79 says you can build up to a 9-story home, multifamily housing in any residential area near a public transit. Just to get everyone's take on it, since it's been discussed, are you for or against SB 79? I'll start with Tish. Are you for or against 79? And you're muted.
It's very complicated because, some people will say that it increases housing supply, it makes better use of taxpayer-funded transit, it reduces long commutes, it lowers pressures and rents over time, it allows more apartments in places where cities previously blocked them, it supports transit, rideship, and walkable neighborhoods. But others worry about, the override local control, the change of neighborhood character quickly, the help of large developers more than the help of working class residents, the creation of displacement and pressure near transit, allowing affordable housing language could be used while still producing projects many cannot afford. So we cannot keep saying we support affordable housing while blocking housing near transit job centers, but I do believe that there's some balance in there. So I'm still kind of like in the middle on how I feel about the bill. I would need more time, and I would just need to have more information furnished to me before I would make a decision like that.
Thank you. Asaad, are you for or against SB 79?
That's very easy. Yes, if I am as a mayor and the council and the neighborhood council have the authority, the final call. Wiener, when he wrote this, it's to address the problem he has in San Francisco. But being a politician, not an engineer, he just blindly put the floors and all that. I am an earthquake engineer by nature with a structural. 9-story building without even a very expensive foundation is an accident waiting to happen. He doesn't address the density. He's forcing it into, like where we have right now the problem, Victory Balboa, they are forcing 800 units in there without even adequate utilities. However, if I move, let's say, another 2 miles along the same orange line that I designed, and I get to Owensmouth, I can easily put there 3,000 units rather than the 800 unit everybody is fighting for. Because over there, I have a new state-of-the-art power station, I have adequate sanitation, I have water, plus for the people, it will be a walk to the Topanga Mall. Plus, look at it this way. When we did the 2040 planning zone, Topanga is zoned already by 2040 to have at least 1 mile length of 10-story buildings. So we as engineers had planned ahead for Topanga. Wiener is a politician, and that's why we stress we need an engineer as a mayor.
Brian, are you for or against SB 79?
Everything Asaad just said, it's perfect.
Okay.
Honestly, so long as the data and the infrastructure and the planner is taking into consideration the local community that'll be affected, plus the data is there to support it, absolutely.
And John, we have heard your take. You are for SB 79?
I am against SB 79 as far
Against.
as like, yes, against it. So I like, but I will say, I'll echo Bryant's about Asaad because I love the engineering take. So I will say this about SB 79 that is that I do not like. I don't like the fact that it's like being mandated from Sacramento. This is Los Angeles. We have a lot going on. And yes, Wiener was like, he was focused on San Francisco. Los Angeles is completely different. Here's the thing that scares me about SB 79 as far as the neighborhoods. If you're within 500 feet of a bus stop, you can actually build multi-story buildings. So that literally encroaches way into a lot of neighborhoods. 500 feet is quite far. So that's where it gets like that's where the gray area that is that would cripple what a neighborhood would be. No one wants like a 6-story building next to their single family home. So that's where I'm pretty firm on that.
Okay, sorry for getting that wrong, John.
Oh, you're good. It's all good.
And Andrej, last but not least, are you for or against SB 79 building high rises close to in single family residence areas?
Yeah, generally I'm for it, but I think it needs to be revised, truly. Like Asaad mentioned, Scott Wiener he's not a good politician. I'll tell you. He's a lawyer, he's not an engineer. He writes these heavy-handed laws like he wants to put door chimes or chimes on our cars if you're going more than 75 miles an hour in your car. We know that's awful. He's encouraging surveillance policing like flock cameras to catch people. I mean, he's just not a good, smart guy. He's just a lawyer, politician. That's his only accolade, is that he's run for office. Anyway, I like SB 79 in that it increases densification, but we need to do it smart. So my proposal is that along public transit corridors, this is like major roadways, let's build, baby, build. No parking requirements, go to the sky. 200 feet away, once you start into the residential areas, I want to put a 4x upzoning limit on it, where you can have, where there was one single family residence, you can build 4. They do this in Europe. They do it in Germany and Switzerland. It's fantastic. Every floor of the building is its own single family residence. So you build a 5-story building. The bottom floor is like a gym, a little community area, whatever. And then the 2nd through 5th floors are all single family residences, 3 and 4 bedrooms, right? So you can have 4 families living where there was previously one, and it's modern. It's built for the future, has modern HVAC systems. You have a sauna and a jacuzzi up on the roof. You got a barbecue patio that can be shared. I've got a whole plan for this. So we have to do it meaningfully, but I'm in favor of 4x upzoning 200 feet away from, major transit corridors, and then unlimited along the transit corridors for SB 79.
So the State Department of Finance indicated that as of this year, there's approximately 100,000 vacant housing units in the city of LA and 192,000 vacant units in LA County. Many vacant units are high-end luxury developments or empty investment properties rather than affordable options for low-income residents. So the popular narrative that if we build more, the housing costs would magically become more affordable is not the reality of today's situation. That's why some city officials have proposed a vacancy tax to incentivize owners to rent out these empty units. How would you incentivize developers to build affordable housing instead of these luxury apartments that are being built? I will start with you, Andrej.
Yeah, so the first thing is that we need to make it cheaper for them to build. Like I said, that's why I'm in favor of reducing the parking requirement. It's so expensive to have to build, and when you build parking, you got to dig deeper into the ground to build the pillars for earthquake support. It's super expensive. It's not necessary. We need to be moving towards a city that's more public transit friendly anyway, and not encouraging everyone to have a car here. So that's number one. Number two is also we need to have densification. Like I like building taller. When you build taller, you get more area per square foot. And I think that also helps solve the cost perspective in terms of creating more housing. So I'm a big believer that we do need to work with the developers. We need to make sure that these things are getting built, and we also need to make sure we're building the right types of development. I also want to make sure that LA is building places that are not just for rent, but also for ownership. Right? Like I want to make sure that some amount of buildings or some amount of construction that we're doing is places where people like me, who are working class Angelenos, who make a solid income, right? Who make, 6 figures or whatever, can actually buy something here in the city that's modern, that's new, that's nice, that we could live in long term. So I think creating the balance, making sure that there's a profit incentive, but making sure that it's not gross and that there's restrictions with that.
And Tish, I'll turn it over to you. How would you incentivize developers to build affordable housing instead of these luxury apartments?
Well, my incentives would include 90-day permitting review for qualified affordable housing projects, reduce city fees for projects with deeper affordability, density bonuses when developers build more affordable units, not just token units, public land partnerships where the city leases underused land for affordable housing, adaptive reuse support to convert emergency commercial buildings into housing, infrastructure coordination so projects are not stuck between departments, public-private partnerships with clear accountability, so no sweetheart deals. And I would also require transparency. So if a developer gets tax breaks, grants, fees reduction, or density bonuses, the public should know exactly what they promised. So what they delivered and who can actually afford the units. My policy is pretty simple. Reward developers who build housing Angelenos can afford, and stop rewarding projects that use affordable housing language without delivering real affordability.
Asaad, your platform proposes limiting luxury developments until affordable housing targets are met. How do you propose to do that?
So before I answer it, I'll answer your first portion of the question, which is we have a lot of vacant units. And that happened because those were designed and built as ADUs, or what do you call it, for the rentals. And then when the law and the rules changed in the city of LA, everybody bailed out on doing it, and the city loses on $337 million per year revenue. How I'm going to do it is each building, when they build, it should have the motivation that they have to address our issues. I can give them incentives. And like Tish mentioned, the 90 days, the permitting can be handled. And, my engineers can process a lot of these plans quickly. We're losing engineers. I have more vacancies today than any time before. Back in the early 90s, builder used to come in and out within 6 months with buildings, and it's all affordable. It has to do re-engineering the way we deal with it, plus incentives, a lot of incentives to the builder. Right now, they don't have bonuses, they don't have incentives, they don't have anything, they don't get tax breaks, so they try just to build whatever they have and sell it.
Brian, same question to you.
So I would focus on an affordable housing in lieu program to allow luxury developments to contribute a fair share of project revenue to LA. Affordable housing fund in lieu of building affordable units on site. I think this way we'll be able to create, construction for permanently affordable housing across the city, while developers can get a pathway to build, return, and participate in projects that receive fast track permits, streamline approvals, and expand housing faster.
And with a whole minute to spare. Thank you, Brian. And John?
You know what's interesting is right now, actually, on the June 2nd ballot down in San Diego is like this measure that is actually about the vacancy tax. And so, which is going to be interesting to see how that goes. Now, obviously, I am for building a lot. So meaning that, and there could be luxury building as far as also affordable housing. So I think that it will both drive competition, because if you're building affordable, or if you're building luxury housing in like apartments or condos, then you're having people move out of another residence into that, creating vacancies, therefore driving competition, and housing hopefully comes down. So that's where I stand on that. Thanks.
Mayor Bass in April 2026 expanded the adaptive reuse ordinance to accelerate the conversion of vacant office buildings into residential units, aiming to address the housing crisis and potentially adding over 43,000 new affordable units in downtown LA specifically. But there are no plans to address these high construction costs that have doubled in recent years, or the structural limitations like retrofitting an old building with an upgraded HVAC system and electrical system, addressing the asbestos issues that's in most of these old places, and the expensive code upgrade costs. So, Andre, you started talking about, you have proposed a similar solution throughout your campaign about converting these empty office buildings into residential units. But how do you propose the city should overcome these significant budget hurdles and cost hurdles to do so?
Look, I'm going to tell you, you look at how much the city has spent on the current homelessness situation and how little they've done with it, and the costs are like not even comparable, right? Like Karen Bass and they spent something like $300 million to get I think it was like 1,500 or 2,000 people off the street. I mean, it was an insane amount of money. We're literally talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars per person. The city just instead takes $25 million to buy a commercial office space, and then even spends another $40 million for adaptive reuse, right? You're talking about $65 million, and that place can house 200 to 400 residents at a time. You're looking at cost savings roughly 10 times what the current, solution that Mayor Bass has implemented through Inside Safe and other failed programs. So, in terms of the budgetary concerns on an issue like this, I think that we can't afford not to, create these kinds of dormitory style models. When you bring people together, you can serve them together. Right now, if you put all these people in all these different places, it doesn't make sense to have full-time mental health staff. It doesn't make sense to have full-time medical, social services, legal defense, and productive, jobs training and placement. But when you have 200, 400, 500 residents under one collective roof, then you can have 2 full-time mental health professionals. You can have full-time medical, full-time job training and placement, legal defense services, meal services, et cetera. So, I think that we're looking at this the wrong way. I think we can't afford not to do this in a more economical, terms of scale.
Asaad, I see you nodding over there. You are the city engineer. You have experience dealing with the red tape. Do you support converting these commercial buildings into residential affordable housing, or do you propose something else?
No, look at it this way. Karen Bass right now is in the re-election mode. Her strategists are trying whatever it is to give her a lifeguard to float. What we're talking about, back after we signed the 277 pages in November 2015, Mayor Garcetti appointed former city engineer Gary Moore, with along many of us, to put plans for these buildings. We have the plans. We were starting on it through a bridge home, and we were doing tiny homes and a lot of these things. A lot of it got stalled and on hold because of the COVID. And then when Karen Bass took over, the whole program was killed. A lot of our plans that we have done it's ready to go. It takes time. This is not something, but we had started on it 2016. It halted. I will immediately revive the whole program. We have the plans, we have the engineers. Some of them I lost to retirement, which we can bring them back as consultant. But the city can do it. The only problem I have right now, deputy mayors, that my wall here will be more reactive if I talk to it. That's it.
Stop with the jokes. Brian, how would your administration finance these large-scale housing, these expensive construction projects?
So I would look at the data and see, because obviously some buildings are going to be more expensive than others to retrofit, or, it's just going to be looking at what we have in terms of availability. But then I would also look to prefab builders, because if I was to go to a prefab builder and say, hey, I want to build 5 prefab communities, what kind of deal can you get us? So that public-private partnership. And then also with prefab, you don't run into a lot of these issues because everything's already built. And so the idea is that we're cutting costs in half and also building time so that we can get people into affordable housing much faster. But also, still using, the retrofitted if it doesn't cost as much, basically.
John, turning the mic over to you.
No problem. It's funny. I'm just going to echo kind of what everybody's already said, but a little bit. It's funny, like seeing Karen Bass. Like we're all like hyper aware of everything that's going on as far as like things getting done right before the election. So the idea of like, let's use the Sunkist building that's in like right off the 101 that keeps popping up in the news. Right, that's one that they would. I think I don't know if the city's bought it or not, but that one they want to acquire, and then they want to do this full retrofit, right? So obviously, hopefully before they even went in there, I know I haven't read up much on, I read about it, but I don't know the direct details or like the engineering and whatnot. But you would think that they would do all the research to see how much it's going to cost to retrofit that building. So as under my administration, that's what I would be doing. I mean, we're going to buy buildings and make them into like a dormitory style. I think that's what we need to do, is see what's most cost effective. We're not just going to go out and buy willy-nilly some random buildings. But then when you have the building, then you can do the whole wraparound service. I mean, like the Sunkist building, for example, is its own property, and then you could do the whole wraparound service and have a one-stop shop for the families, people that need mental health, people that need addiction centers and stuff, and then you have like medical, you have education, all these different resources. So it's just a one-stop shop. So.
And Tish, pass the mic over to you.
Well, what I think is adaptive reuse allows Los Angeles to create housing faster and revitalize neighborhoods and reduce waste by using the buildings we already have. One of the biggest barriers to conversion projects is the cost of environmental remediation and safety upgrades. If we want more housing, the city has to become a real partner in helping projects get safely modernized. Solutions like my policy style solutions would be tax incentives for adaptive reuse projects, expediting permitting for conversions, low interest rehabilitation financing, public-private infrastructure partnerships, grants or credits for asbestos remediation, systemic retrofit assistance, streamlined environmental review, workforce development partnerships for skilled construction labor. And the question is not whether buildings need to be safe. They absolutely do. The question is whether City Hall can create pathways to make sure safe modernization is financially achievable.
Turning to a new topic, public safety. Downtown LA is in a state of crisis. There is the abandoned, unfinished graffiti tower. Restaurants are closing. Commercial buildings are empty and worth half the price. The $500 million LA bridge is in the dark because someone stole 38,000 feet of copper. With LA 28, the Olympics around the corner, what is your plan to revive downtown LA, and how are you going to make it happen? I will start with you, John.
Okay, so I am a proponent of public safety. So this is where I would say we We do need more officers. I know that like they're shooting for 10,000, or I'm shooting for 10,000, I should say, but I think it even needs to be more than that. Now, people say like, "Oh, where's the budget?" Well, at one point we did have 10,000. We did have the budget for that. So we will definitely need to find the money to make that happen. But we did it once, we need to do it again. So I think having more, like obviously the graffiti towers. I mean, it's kind of it's a stain on our city, right? I know people laugh at it and it looks like, you know, whatever, cool or whatnot, but it's still kind of like, really, that happened? And it wasn't just like one piece of graffiti; it was like the entire building. But in some weird way, it was like everybody found out about it in like one night, and so it's like we need to go down and revitalize downtown. We need to make downtown feel like the actual core that it is of LA. And I feel like that it should be across all the neighborhoods in Los Angeles. They're such a vital part of our culture. And like everywhere from South Central to Silver Lake to Winnetka, they all need to feel like they have like their own hub. If you create those places where people don't want to leave, like so they stay and have sustainable housing, they work there, then that way then people don't need to get in their cars and drive everywhere. But as far as downtown, I think it needs, everything is downtown. I mean, that's where all the transit lines branch out to, and it needs to be the economic hub of the city.
Bryant?
So I would start by reallocating funds based on data and outcomes, shift nonviolent calls to mental health teams, improve response times plus coverage, and reduce wasted officer time. Starting there with safety would be key because ultimately I'd want to also focus on building an entertainment hub in the like the warehouse district, where imagine it's a promenade where we have a couple of flagship clubs and restaurants, and just trying to work with building a travel agency in-house to be able to get people to come more to LA. But if we get people to come, it has to be safe. That's why I think being able to do those key points on how we manage LAPD and how it's reflective of the pain points in the city is going to be key in order to be able to get that there. But basically, making LA into an entertainment or a travel hub of the world again, where people feel safe and we're able to have unique experiences in downtown.
Tish?
So the 2028 games are expected to bring a major economic activity and global attention to LA. And the city has already projected major security costs. LAPD has estimated Olympic and Paralympic staffing that could cost about $1.15 billion. And because the games are designated a national special security event, the city should aggressively coordinate with federal partners for staffing, intelligence, emergency response, and security responses. So my plan would have 5 parts: public safety, clean streets, transportation, homelessness triage, and beautification. Yes, I would hire and deploy more officers where needed, but I would also use federal support, private security coordination, sanitation crews, graffiti removal teams, traffic control, and emergency response planning. We need to fix the visible failures too, like the graffiti towers and illegal dumping, broken sidewalks, dirty corridors, unsafe encampments, and neglected public spaces. The city has already launched the clean corridor and beautification efforts, but I would make them measurable and citywide, not just cosmetic near Olympic venues. And on homelessness, we can't just sweep people out of sight. We still need to do the triage, shelter, treatment, and legal pathways before the games. The Olympics should leave Los Angeles cleaner, safer, and more organized and more economically prepared than it was before. We pay for Olympic readiness by using a shared cost model, not by dumping the whole bill on LA taxpayers. That's all I got, so I'm going to stop there.
And Andrej?
Yeah, look, we need to revitalize downtown. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's bad down there. And so part of that obviously is building a public dormitory style model, get the homeless off the street, right? We're never going to have downtown as a clean, safeable, walkable place until there aren't people sleeping on the street. So that's number one. Number two, yeah, we need more police officers, but part of that is making sure that police officers actually want to work for LAPD, right? One of the problems that we have is we can't recruit officers. Why? Because LAPD's public image is so bad. They keep, beating people up and shooting rubber bullets at them. That has to change, right? We need to rehabilitate LAPD's public image because we've got to pay officers like $150,000, $160,000 to work for our city because it's just so bad to work for them. So we got to rehabilitate their image so we can bring the cost down. I want the city of Los Angeles to own and operate some amount of city-owned housing as well, high quality city-owned housing, kind of like university housing at the university. I would love LA to buy something like the Graffiti Towers and renovate and own that asset long-term and offer that as an employment perk to people who work for the city of Los Angeles, including our law enforcement, right? We could have family-style residences available for city employees, right? This will encourage people, and then those people want to live and work near downtown, helping keep, downtown safe. I want to also invest a ton of money into Broadway. We're going to revitalize Broadway, a historic Broadway, the theater district, bring it back to life. Streets, pedestrian only. We're going to close it off to cars and vehicular traffic, make it open Monday through Friday, permit-free filming zone, where people can come down. Any studios can do their B-roll, do their shots, permit-free just by reservation. This will revitalize downtown, bringing in tourists where they can actually see the movies being made live. So that's a big priority for me, is downtown LA.
And Asaad, what are your plans to revive downtown LA?
So basically, I've been working on that for almost 2 decades. I'm like John, a first responder for LAPD, LAFD, in addition to my job in which I get funding from the county to provide security on the train stations that I design. The first item, we need to increase the police force, and that is the sworn officers, return all the civilian workers that we had let go, and reinstate the cadet program, because the civilians and the cadets were doing all the desk jobs that the sworn officers are right now doing. So with that combination and all that within this budget, you still can get to the 14,000 number. Now, for the LA 28, the past 2 years, I work very close as part of my job as a senior engineering manager with all the Department of Justice and the law enforcement so that we are ready with a lot of scenarios. We've been working on it diligently. Within my department, I'm working on a state-of-the-art monitoring system similar to the one that I did for the Van Nuys Airport, the Santa Monica Airport, and what we have here in the Valley. But we're adding with it the concept for arson detection and all of those. Security is going to be massive, but as a mayor, I'm ready because I've been working on these plans for 2 years, and I'm the one who's going to be delivering it, elected or not. Thank
Carl
you.
Bradley was the last mayor of LA to host the Olympics profitably, generating a surplus that established the LA 84 Foundation. Do you have a plan to ensure LA taxpayers are protected from cost overruns associated with the 2028 Olympics? Tish, I will start with you. You're muted.
Hi, sorry about that. So I always think about cost and taxes and LA residents the same way. It's about revitalizing our economy and bringing business back to LA. So for me, when it comes to the Olympics, I'm saying I've heard plans that people want to build TVs, or Karen said something about building TVs outside. I say no, open up all of our businesses and let people come in there and watch the games from there and spend money, make them patrons, have everybody come in. Let's make pop-up restaurants for the restaurants that close to come down to the Olympics and do pop-ups so they can open up and we can make money into the city. And like I said, as mayor, I will implement my new business structure that will bring $1 billion to Los Angeles annually, and also invigorate our creative culture and bring tourism back and bring revenue back. So how I plan on making sure that the 2028 games are balanced is that we're making money as a city. I'm creating activations and creating businesses that bring money to our city. I've even created a business structure that brings $50 million every year to our state from other states. So it's all about bringing in money. I'm all about how to make more money for the city. So I would do that during the Olympics, after the Olympics, and forever, because we need to make money as a city and state.
Asaad, what plans do you have to protect LA taxpayers from the cost overruns that are associated with the LA 28 Olympics?
So given I was the one who prepared what it's going to cost the city, which is close to 1.87 billion that we don't have. My plan is, and that is going to be 14 months after I get sworn in, is to get the city ready within that budget. That all we have right now is about $44 million, which will not do anything. However, uh, the way I'm going to approach it is a lot of the local businesses are willing to come in and partner with the city, meaning there, I don't want to say they're going to pay the 1.87 billion, but there is a lot of grants. There is a lot of funds that I have access to from the sustainability program, like I did when I upgraded the LED programs. Right now, I can get more funding from the federal government to implement a lot of the digital banners, a lot of the wayfinders, a lot of the technologies that Paris used in the Olympics. These can be coming from federal funding to the city, which comes about close to 680 of the sister counties and the other states. So those saving me about 300 million. Then with the operations for the safety, which was close to 400, then that one is coming from the federal. It leaves the sanitation component. I will expand on the existing contracts. We have to clear the trash. I'm out of time, but the plan is to continue what I'm doing right now.
Bryant?
So I would look to public-private to sponsorships. So I'd go after every business that I've ever worked with, whether it be Nike or Microsoft or any of these big dollar brands, work with selling, advertisement space, activations, public-private activations to be able to get community also involved. Then I would then go to the smaller businesses to bring them in, but essentially look at where we could bring in new revenue streams using creativity and using, the community as a whole to be able to, offset some of these costs, and then just be able to create an amazing experience for everybody.
John, I turn it over to you.
The thing, I love the idea of the Olympics. I think it's going to be amazing for our city. And here's the thing I think also is that we're so worried like about even our mayoral run is like what we're going to do in the next 4 years. But I think having the Olympics here is going to be an investment over a long period of time. I mean, the 84 games, it was however many years ago, and it still reverberates throughout our city. So I think that yes, there might be immediate cost to overruns, but it's going to be definitely beneficial. The Olympics are going to be huge for us for years. I mean, the Paris games were 2 years ago, and I know people still talk about going to Paris and visiting Paris. So when the Olympics are actually happening, when that is actually taking place, I mean, the restaurants are going to be full. The hotels are going to be full. So the tax revenue on what's happening over that course of the year, the 2028 with both the Paralympic Games and the Olympic Games, is going to be great for our tax base. Statewide and citywide. So I don't see that any negative connotations, unless there's some crazy like virus that runs through, and then we're just like. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just going to be a huge economic boom for Los Angeles, like for possibly the next decade. I mean, and plus the great thing is we're going to get a little bit of a dry run here in the next month with the World Cup coming. Right. We're going to know how many people are actually coming and visiting this city, and like how are the restaurants doing? How are the hotels doing? Like, I mean, granted, now the World Cup is all throughout America, Canada, and Mexico, but we're going to get a good little sliver. Plus, we have the Super Bowl coming, so. Well, sorry, ran out of time. But yeah, Pro Olympics, let's go.
And Andrej.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of with Bryant on this one. I think that we need to be looking at how we can increase revenues, right? That create that cushion. And that's one of the things everyone's talking about, budget cuts and cuts. We're not talking enough about how we can increase revenues. And so we're going to have a lot of people coming into our city. These people are coming from all around the world, and they are bringing their checkbooks with them. They are ready to spend. We got to make sure we're capturing that revenue. And so I want to make sure that we're having, I want to make sure we have accommodation taxes, especially on luxury accommodation. These are hotel rooms that are more than $250 a night. I want a, 17% tax on those. Airbnbs that are, I want Airbnbs to have a 25% tax on them. We're seeing all these landlords right now warehousing underused spaces in downtown. They're leaving places vacant right now, warehousing them, preparing for the Olympics and for, FIFA and the World Cup. I want to make sure when they start renting those out, 25, 30% tax. We're going to get some money in, right? And same thing with like luxury, any kind of luxury services and accommodations. You know, other people are going to be making money off of our city. Our city needs to make money off of our city. And so I'm going to make sure that we work with our budgets, make sure that we're not making, you know, having gross overspend places, looking for ways that we can improve public transit infrastructure, again, through the Metro Express systems, the shuttle bus system to get people around. Right now, people are, you know, Uber and Lyft are going to be making a ton of money. Let's put a tax on them too, right? Encourage people to use public transit instead. So like I said, I think we need to be looking at how we can make sure that we create a cushion in terms of all the revenue that's coming into our city and use that to make sure that the taxpayers aren't on the hook for overrun.
And our last public safety question is a yes and no question for each of you. Would you end the city-run needle giveaway program? I will start with Asaad.
That's the toughest question. I would say no.
Tish?
Yes.
Bryant?
I thought this was a great idea at the beginning, but I feel like the data, I mean, it sucks because on one hand, you're stopping the spread of infectious diseases, but on the other hand, it's creating more drug, you know.
Oh, yes or no, Bryant?
I think I would say yeah at this point.
Andrej?
I think it needs to be modified so that if you're going to take advantage of this service, you need to also see a medical professional before you're given those needles so that we offer help to people. But so I kind of am in favor of keeping it, but like modifying it.
And
Wait.
John? What? Yes, Tish.
Hold on. I'm in favor of like closing this down. I don't want the needle program. I want to be clear about that. I'm sorry.
And
Thank you for that clarification.
I'm yes, but modifying it if there is medical backing to support it.
I see Asaad's nodding his head. Okay, so you're yes. on
Yeah,
modify.
because I deal with the homeless because of the fact, you know, there is AIDS still going around. There is a lot of diseases. So if you work close with the homeless, you understand that there is still issues. Before you address those issues, then you get to the needle. It's the chicken or the egg.
And John, we're going to get to you. Yes or no on
I mean, I think it needs to go away, but it's tricky, just like everybody just said. I mean, I think you know, I mean, and you know, when you get needles, sometimes they'll put it into a bag which actually has the rubber band on it. I mean, it's like, yeah, I don't know how you're getting off this drug if you're like if people are just providing these things. So, I mean, I don't know. It's tricky, chicken and the egg, but I mean, ultimately, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, of course, let's get rid of it. But but I'm trying to be compassionate at the same time. So.
And thank you very much. Our last question for each candidate tonight, I'll let you close it out with your closing arguments and give you more time for a whole 2 minutes. What experience do you have managing large organizations and budgets? And how would that translate to running the LA city budget? I will start with you, John.
Okay. I'm just gonna wing it here on my thing. Okay. First of all, I am a producer. So I work in the entertainment business. I know we haven't really touched on that much, but I've worked on over 1,000 projects. I've like been able to budget. I've been able to crew up big projects. For example, I'm just gonna throw it out there. After the marathon bombing in Boston in 2013, I was able to. We were having a big the Boston One Fund concert series. I was hired, not even hired. It was a whole volunteer gig, and I was able to crew up everybody. We were broadcasted live for 5 hours on like 5 major networks, and so I was able to take no money and make a huge production happen. And we had some of the biggest bands in the world. So that is like on the minimal part of dealing with that. On the other side of the stream, I like am constantly working with budgets, big and small, on feature films, commercials. Like through this mayoral run here, I know this. I don't mean to brag or anything, but I'm just saying what's been going on is that I've produced car commercials, a podcast, like video, and even did a ton of interviews just last week with the Beach Life Fest. So I'm constantly juggling crews and making budgets happen. And it's kind of like as a mayor having all these committees going on and being able to like wear many hats and delegate and to be on top of it. So I feel like I can definitely handle the job.
Thank you. And Brian, I turn it over to you.
Well, as a creative executive for 2 decades, everybody knows that creatives are always given a shitty budget to deal with, and we're expected to produce multi-million dollars results, and that's exactly what I've done. And even more so through systems. So creating, being able to hit projects from A to Z and hitting every touch point in between. So that's the experience that I'm bringing. Also working with multidisciplinary teams within an organizational structure to be able to say, hey, this is how it all works together, bring it to life and execute, because LA doesn't have an ideas problem, it has an execution problem. And that's what I'm bringing to the race.
Andrej?
Yeah, so, look, I'm 40 years old now. I've been working at a very high level at some very large organizations, for the last 15 years. I've worked for companies like Macy's. UPS Logistics uses technology that I've built. Fashion Nova, I've worked on their systems that serve literally thousands of people every day. I've worked with, large furniture companies, product companies. I understand how to work cross-functionally amongst organizations that have dozens of teams with like hundreds of employees. But the difference between me and the other candidates, I get in there and I get my hands dirty. I'm an engineer by trade. I roll up my sleeves and I build systems. This is what I do professionally. I'm very good at it. Some of the best companies in the world, they call me when their systems are failing, right? They say, hey, this thing's not working for us, or there's an inefficiency here, or we need to save this labor budget. I'm the person who creates the plan. I get people aligned on that plan. I work, with the different teams to do the discovery and the investigation. We create and then I execute. That's what I'm good at. I have experience doing this, like I said, for companies that are doing more than $1 billion a year in annual revenue internationally with tons of different, departments and teams. I can work cross-functionally with, City Hall in the same way. And then on top of that, here's the thing is that I'm the only person or the only candidate who's bringing real solutions into how we improve the revenue for our city and how we reduce the budget, right? Like Metro Express, LA DOT runs at $195 million budget, only generates $5 million in revenue. Metro Express fixes that. That can shore up $50 to $100 million, right? New revenue taxes on luxury accommodations and other things like that. So, as I said, I think that, I have the right background, the skills, and the experience to reorganize City Hall, and that's what I'll do as mayor for Los Angeles.
Tish? And you're still muted.
I'm sorry, I just try to make sure none of my background noise
I
comes in.
appreciate you muting yourself.
Well, I've managed budgets in real life, not just on paper. I've built and operated businesses, including a multi-unit Airbnb business in Hollywood, where I had to manage revenue, expenses, staffing, vendors, maintenance, customer service, cash flow, and daily operations. I've also worked in the music industry for years as a songwriter, artist, and entrepreneur, where every project requires budgeting, studio time, production, musicians, engineers, marketing, travel, content, contracts, and deadlines. That experience translates because managing a city is not just about having money. It's about knowing where the money is going, what result is it producing, who's responsible, and what needs to change when something is not working. Los Angeles has a multi-billion-dollar budget, but the issue is execution. I would bring a business owner's mindset, audit spending, track outcomes, reduce waste, hold departments accountable, make sure tax dollars produce visible results for residents. And my experience in managing budgets comes from actually having to make things work with real money, real deadlines, and real consequences. Before music, I was in the mortgage business, so I understand numbers, contracts, risk, people's finances, how to make major decisions affecting families. And then I built my music career. I had to budget. I had to do a lot of touring and speaking to people, uniting people, finding talent, outsourcing talent, understanding who to put in what position and how to lead. That will translate directly to City Hall. Los Angeles doesn't just need someone who can read a budget, it needs someone who can manage people, spot waste, understand value, build teams, and make sure money turns into results. That is what I've done my entire life. And I've done all this with empathy and love for people and talent and just pure energy into actually making sure that my presence makes a difference wherever I am.
Asaad.
So I will start by saying, many people ask me, what's the difference between you, Karen Bass, and Nithya? And they are managers. However, I come with leadership. I was blessed that I started with Tom Bradley era, and I served 6 mayors, 75 council members. So I had the blessing to start working on the budget from Reardon days. I not know only how to run the city, I know how to run it efficiently. I'm the only candidate, and this even includes Karen Bass herself and Nithya Raman, that exactly knows every line in the budget. And if Karen Bass had listened to my recommendation last year, we wouldn't be in this boat. From the other perspective, from my volunteer work, I'm on the budget advocates. So I work with all the 99 neighborhood councils so that we get the constituent feed on how to enhance the budget. When it comes to the budget, it's for me, it's easier than balancing my home checkbook because I have the stuff, I have the tools, and I analyze it daily. Not only that, I've been doing for 37 years, I'm one of the master estimators for the whole city programs. I built the trains under budget ahead of schedules. I negotiate on behalf of the city and continue negotiating with MTA, with Caltrans, all the budgets. Plus, I am the only one in my department who actually is authorized to sign the budgets that gets us all the funding from Caltrans. And you know, before I sign anything, I usually make sure that it makes sense. So walking in the room right now, I would immediately know how to balance the budget. And actually, even my first recommendation to Karen Bass was don't expect to adopt the budget now. Don't adopt this budget that has a mess. Delay it to some time in the future where the new mayor is going to be taking over because the new budget that is going to be accepted has a lot of mess. It's worse than the last one. Thank you. I'm over my time.
Thank you very much. That is the end of my questions. I would like to thank you so very much for attending today. A special thanks to the candidates tonight for joining us and giving their valuable time this close to the election to be here. Thank you to everyone who registered to join this event and to submit their questions that were posed today. Voter ballots have been mailed out. Please submit your votes. My name is Samira Torshizi, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Samira.
Thank
See
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys. Good luck next couple of weeks.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Good luck, guys.